When did the popular kid's life collapse in just a few seconds? I went to Ridgeview High, and there was this girl, Madison, who basically controlled the entire school ecosystem. She was cheer captain, dating the star quarterback Cole, and her parents owned a giant chain of local home renovation stores, so everyone treated her like royalty. Teachers adored her because she turned everything in early, volunteered in every club, and always acted charming when adults were watching. She carried herself like the universe had already promised her success, and honestly, most of us believed it. Senior year, right before graduation, our school put on this massive pep rally. The auditorium was packed shoulder to shoulder. Students, parents, teachers, even alumni came back for it. It was supposed to be this big celebration of our class. The cheer team had rehearsed their routine for weeks. The athletes were getting honored on stage. Seniors did skits and jokes, and Madison opened the whole thing with a heartfelt speech about unity and school spirit. She grabbed the wireless mic, flashed her perfect stage smile, and spoke about how Ridgeview was a true family and how much she cherished everyone. The crowd went wild. She looked completely in her element, like she was soaking in every second of attention. What nobody realized was that the kid manning the sound system was Trevor, this quiet AV tech who'd been Madison's best friend back in elementary school. The second she got popular in 9th grade, she cut him off completely, stopped sitting with him, stopped acknowledging him, wouldn't even make eye contact. Trevor was one of those tech geniuses who could run the entire auditorium blindfolded. After Madison finished her speech, she walked backstage with the cordless mic still in her hand. Trevor was supposed to mute it. He didn't. No one knows if he forgot or decided not to, but that microphone stayed live, and the whole auditorium heard everything. The first thing we heard was Madison's voice, annoyed and sharp. I can't keep pretending to be nice to these people. If I have to clap for these clueless zombies one more time, I'm going to scream. The room went silent instantly. Parents froze. Kids looked at each other. Teachers frantically scanned the stage. But Madison just kept going. And if Coach Reed calls me out of shape again, I swear I'm emailing those photos to the district. He'll be unemployed by Monday. Then she started roasting specific classmates. She called Jenna pathetic and clingy, laughed about how the class treasurer couldn't count to 10, made fun of how some kids dressed, even mocked the way certain students smelled. You could hear her friends laughing along with her. But the real bomb dropped when she started talking about Cole, her golden boy boyfriend sitting right in the front row. I'm only with him because it looks good. He's nice, but honestly, kind of dull. I'm dumping him after graduation. I need someone on my level. Cole's face went from confusion to heartbreak to pure anger. Meanwhile, Madison strolled back on stage, still holding the mic, smiling and waving like nothing had happened. The auditorium was dead quiet, like horror movie quiet. Finally, someone shouted, "We heard everything you said." Madison froze mid-smile. She stared at the microphone, then at the entire crowd staring back at her. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there like she'd been unplugged from reality. The consequences hit instantly. Coach Reed suspended her from cheer before the pep rally was even over. Cole walked up, took the mic from her, and said, "We're done," in front of the entire school. Half the auditorium started booing, but things only got worse. During lunch, a quiet girl from theater posted an old video she'd been sitting on for years. It showed Madison and her friend's sophomore year cornering a shy kid in the bathroom, shoving him, calling him names, and throwing his backpack into a trash can. The video spread across the school like wildfire. By the end of the day, Madison, who normally sat surrounded by friends, was eating alone, staring at her lunch tray like she didn't know how to exist. People walked past her just to tell her what they'd always wanted to say. Her cheer squad abandoned her instantly. The final blow came a week later. Her parents' phones blew up with complaints. Clients pulled out of business deals. People in town started talking about how maybe the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Their whole reputation built on charm and likability started crumbling because of the daughter who had just exposed how cruel she really was. By Monday morning, Ridgeview High felt like a crime scene. Not literally, but socially. The hallways that used to echo with Madison's laughter now buzzed with whispers that stopped whenever she walked by. Posters with her face from pep rallies and charity events had quietly vanished overnight. Even the front office took down the student council president plaque with her photo on it. She showed up wearing sunglasses, hair tucked under a cap, pretending not to notice the phones pointed at her, but everyone noticed her. They noticed everything: the silence that followed her footsteps, the space people left when she tried to sit down, the empty seat next to her in English that used to belong to Cole. The teacher didn't say a word, just handed back essays like nothing had happened. But every time Madison looked up, someone else was already looking at her. The video from the bathroom had hit 1 million views on TikTok. Every comment section was the same. "So this is the Ridgeview sweetheart? That poor kid? People like her always get away with it. Glad she finally slipped." Her name was trending locally. Even the news stations picked it up. Local cheer captain caught in bullying scandal. By lunchtime, she was sitting alone again, same table, different universe. A half-eaten sandwich in front of her, no makeup, eyes red, like she hadn't slept. She scrolled through her phone, desperately deleting posts, comments, entire accounts. But new ones kept popping up. Clips, edits, remixes of her unity speech playing right before her hot mic insults. People were turning her downfall into entertainment. A group of freshmen walked past her table. One of them whispered, just loud enough for her to hear, "Guess she's not our queen anymore." Madison didn't even look up, just clenched her jaw and stared at the table. The next day, she didn't show up. Or the next. Rumors flew fast that she'd transferred, that her parents pulled her out, that she'd gone off the grid. Then, late Thursday night, an anonymous account posted a screenshot of a message supposedly sent by Madison herself. "I made mistakes. I'm not proud. But the way people are treating me now, it's worse than anything I ever did." The message got thousands of likes, half sympathetic, half venomous. Classic victim move, cry harder. At least she finally admits it. Meanwhile, Cole, her ex, had become Ridgeview's accidental hero. He never talked about her publicly, but everyone else did. People rallied around him, called him too good for her. He suddenly had girls volunteering to tutor him, bake cookies for him, check if he's okay. He didn't milk it though, just looked tired. When someone asked him during lunch, "Dude, do you ever miss her?" he said, "You can't miss someone who never existed." That clip went viral too. By midsummer, Ridgeview had moved on. New gossip, new seniors, new captains. But Madison's name lingered like smoke after a fire. Her family closed all their social media. Their stores stopped running commercials. People whispered that her dad stepped down from the company for optics. Her mom, once the smiling PTA queen, quit showing up to events. Somewhere in all that noise, Madison vanished completely. Then, months later, she came back. It was September college application season. Everyone was busy with essays and deadlines, and one morning, there she was again, standing in the office waiting line, holding a folder. Nobody recognized her at first. Her blonde hair was dyed chestnut brown, no makeup, baggy sweatshirt, a quiet version of herself. When the secretary said, "Can I help you?" Madison's voice trembled slightly. Need a transcript request." A sophomore turned around, wide-eyed. "Wait, are you?" Madison forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm me." She turned to leave before anyone else could react. The news spread instantly. Madison's back. Some people joked about it, others got weirdly nervous. The girl who used to rule the halls had returned like a ghost haunting her own kingdom. But the truth? She wasn't a threat anymore. She sat in the back of classrooms, silent. Teachers called on her and got short, polite answers. She ate lunch in the library. No friends, no whispers. Even the novelty had worn off. People had already moved on to new villains and new victims. One afternoon, I saw her in the parking lot, sitting in her car. I'd never spoken to her before. She'd been too high up in the food chain for that. But now she looked small, just a girl trying to breathe. She saw me looking and rolled down the window. "You want something?" she asked. Not rude, just tired. I shrugged. "No, just didn't think I'd ever see you here again." "Yeah," she said, glancing at the school. "Me neither. Why'd you come back?" She hesitated. "Because leaving didn't fix it." Then she smiled bitterly. "Turns out, you can't rebrand real life." Over the next few weeks, I started noticing her more, not in the spotlight kind of way, just existing quietly, picking up trash after lunch, helping freshmen find classrooms, volunteering for cleanup duty. At first, people thought it was an act, then they stopped caring enough to watch. That's when she started doing it for real. I saw her one afternoon helping a kid carry a project board up the stairs. The kid didn't even know who she was. She smiled genuinely and kept walking. Then, one morning, something unexpected happened. The kid from that old bathroom video, the one Madison and her friends had bullied years ago, came back to visit. His name was Aaron. He'd transferred after sophomore year. Now he was at community college, helping with the school's drama program. When he saw Madison in the hallway, everything froze again. Not loud, just tense. She stopped too. No makeup, no fake smile, just stood there, clutching her binder. Then she said softly, "Aaron, I'm sorry." No cameras, no audience, just the two of them. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded once. Okay, not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement. Sometimes, that's the start. A week later, a teacher asked Madison to speak to a group of freshmen about online responsibility. Rumor was that she almost said no, but then she showed up anyway. She didn't read from notes. She just stood in front of 30 wide-eyed kids and said, "Everyone tells you high school is about who you are. It's not. It's about what people think you are, until you give them a reason to see the difference." I forgot that. Don't. When she finished, nobody clapped, but nobody laughed either. Time kept moving. Graduation came and went. Madison didn't walk the stage. She finished her credits through an independent program. A year later, I heard she was working at a small community center downtown, helping with after-school programs. Someone said she was studying communications at a local college. Someone else said she still didn't use social media. Nobody really knew. Nobody really asked. But one day, during a volunteer event, I saw her again. She was showing a little girl how to hold a paintbrush, laughing when the kid splattered blue paint on her sleeve. No mask, no performance. I walked over. "Didn't think I'd see you here." She wiped her hands on a rag. "Guess I like surprises." The girl ran off to show her painting. I hesitated, then said, "You're different." Madison smiled. "No, I'm just not performing anymore." She looked around at the noisy room full of kids. It's weird. When people stop worshiping you, you finally learn how to be human. That night, driving home, I kept thinking about her, how fast a pedestal can turn into a prison. Ridgeview had crowned her, crushed her, and moved on. But she'd done something none of us expected. She'd stayed, faced it, lived through it, and somehow, that made her more real than she'd ever been when she was perfect. A year later, our class had its first reunion. Everyone joked it was too soon, but people showed up anyway. Nostalgia, free drinks, curiosity. Halfway through the night, the DJ switched tracks, and I noticed a familiar face standing by the back door. Madison. She wasn't dressed to impress, just jeans, a gray sweater, hair pulled back. People noticed, whispered, then went back to dancing. After a while, she walked over to Cole. He saw her coming. You could feel the whole room holding its breath. She said, "Hey." He nodded. "Hey, I never got to say sorry." He looked at her for a second, then said, "I know." They stood there for a moment, awkward but calm. Then he smiled small, polite, and walked away. And that was it. No dramatic closure, no explosion, just release. When she left that night, I followed her out to the parking lot. "Madison." She turned. "I didn't think you'd show up." She shrugged. "I figured someone had to be brave enough to." Then she smiled faintly. "Guess that's finally me." It's been years since Ridgeview. Most people barely remember the scandal. The world's attention span is short. But sometimes, when I think about how fragile reputations are, how one open mic can rewrite your whole life, I remember her. Not the queen bee, not the villain, just a girl standing on a stage, mic in hand, realizing the empire she'd built was made of glass. And maybe, just maybe, that shatter was the only way she'd ever hear herself clearly.